Welcome to the Strong, Single and Human podcast, a real look at single parenting, the ups and downs, and how to navigate life with kids on your own while keeping sane. Covering subjects such as domestic violence through to fussy eaters and solo dating. I'm your host, Claire Martin. Welcome. As an educator, speaker, and author of The Emotional Powerful Mother, this week's guest helps guide mothers to parent differently so they can feel more empowered and connected to their 18 to 16-year-old daughters, while helping them to grow authentically and learn the emotional life skills necessary for the 21st century and build deeply satisfying connections. Her 5 key formula, developed through her work with thousands of individuals, provides a practical pathway to the power of the true self, the diamond within, that once activated delivers clarity, strength, and a quality of relationship. She is also a mother of 4 and loves elephants, poetry, and the beach, but not necessarily in that order. Welcome, Lisa Jayne. Thanks for joining us.
You are so welcome. It's lovely to be here.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for coming along. Thanks for fitting us into your busy schedule, because I know you're busy. So look, I highlighted all of the things that you do in the introduction, but look, tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got to teach mothers and why you got to teach mothers to better connect with their daughters.
Well, as I actually have I have 4 children myself. I have 2 daughters. One of them's 24 and one of them is 15. But really it was my work with women. So I spent a lot of years working with women in their emotional worlds, and invariably in almost every single instance, women were in a situation, not enjoying their situation in a relationship, not knowing how to deal with the repetitive patterns that they felt. And often I would find that in almost all instances, they weren't listening to their intuition, or they had stepped into the relationship without actually really thinking about it. It was like the inner child in them that wanted to be loved and feel secure had created the relationship. And then they would move in with these people really quickly, like within a couple of months. And as soon as you do that, the stakes are much higher. So it's harder for you to speak your truth. So they had actually trapped themselves in a situation where they found it really difficult to get out of. And I was watching this and thinking, you know what, it's so silly, because it is so simple to not be living these dynamics of relationship, and it really needs to be taught at schools. And I had started to then build this sort of like this little thing, this ember was starting to get up fire in me. And it was like, if we could actually teach this earlier on in life, young girls would be making conscious choices. And then, of course, there's the culture around us, which when things come home to me from my 15-year-old daughter, what her friends are doing and what is happening and the choices that they're making. And I'm looking at, apps like OnlyFans and all these apps that are out there that are just like, this is so far away from a woman standing in her true power. It's so far away from anything that feels natural. And I'm not saying that as a judgment. I'm saying that as these things actually end up making us feel worse about ourselves. The culture and the platforms that we're involved in, we're always seeing people and we're always hearing things that are making us feel not good enough. So we're constantly battling to sort of really make ourselves feel okay in this world. And that is not natural, and that is why we have, high levels of suicide, the self-harming, the depression, the anxiety. And I'm just like, these things, they didn't exist like 20 or 30 years ago, which is not to say it was better then. I don't think it was. I think it was just that we suppressed everything and we didn't have the influences that young girls these days have.
I agree with you. It's like, it's so like when I was younger, and it's a considerable period of time has passed, but and we're talking like 40 years ago when I was like sitting there as a 10-year-old or whatever. Yes, I had the media, so we had TV programs, and we had newspapers or magazines, really, was all we had that was influencing us. But like you said, there's apps, there's Snapchat, there's social pressures from like Facebook and Instagram, and I mean, the internet when I was a kid wasn't really around, and it was only really starting to happen when I was around like in my 20s.
You
Yeah,
missed
thank
it,
God.
didn't you? And it's now it's like these phones are in their hands 24/7. And 24/7, they're like, there's an addiction, right? And they're influenced by like so much information and so many images. So I was watching this, just knowing that it doesn't have to be this way, knowing where it's going to end up for these girls, and seeing the pain that they're in and the acting out that's happening because they don't understand their own emotional world. And so I started to go, we could actually avoid this if we could teach girls at a younger age and influence teenagers to understand that this having to go outside for validation, having to go outside to get their needs met, like all of that is just going to bring them undone. And it does, right? It just adds to the pressure. So for me, that became a real passion. I've taught in schools for a long time, and I could see how this lack of emotional understanding, and this is more than emotional intelligence, this is actually going into the way our emotional consciousness works in our lives. And the lack of understanding of that, how it really influenced the way children learn. And if that was one thing that was brought into schools, like it would just make such a difference. So I've all those passions have sort of culminated in this point where I've thought, okay, if we can start teaching the younger generation, then that is going to have a greater influence, because they are the next women that are coming through. They are the ones that are going to be the leaders of the future. They are the ones that are going to take this information out. And then I realized that the best way to create a new culture around them was to actually give their mums the insights and the tools that they need to create that culture. So mums really are healing themselves at the same time as they're healing their daughter, and mums are able to come into this place where they can be more intuitive. So they're modeling, they're like super modeling.
It's like breaking that cycle, isn't it? Because I know even with having TV in the media, I was always as a teenager comparing myself. I'm not, and it must be millions of times worse nowadays, because there's so many things to be able to compare yourself. And until you stop comparing yourself with everyone else, you're just not going to be happy, because there are so many different situations and circumstances that these people have. But it was always like, that girl's skinnier, or that girl's funnier, or that girl's prettier, or that girl's got, it's got cooler clothes, or, as a teenager, you're just comparing yourself and seeing how you stand in the world. And I suppose in a way I'm lucky because I've got a boy, but then I'm not lucky because I need to educate him as to how he deals with stuff in the world. And that's a completely different way to go.
Well, I think it's just as maybe not quite as much pressure on boys, but boys are also feeling this pressure, and that this, and I just want to say it's really not so much about stopping them from doing that, because in a way, I don't know that we can stop that. But what we can do, in the way I work, is if you build the inner strength and the inner power, it's almost like they just don't need to do that as well. You're not trying to stop, you're not trying to force change on what's not working. You're just moving them into what works. So that is a much easier and more efficient way of operating. So rather than trying to change what's not working, which is what we've been conditioned to do, we just create what works, and we pull them into that, and we draw them into that. And that happens over time, we're in this emerging process with them, and they because they have everything they need, but it's like we're bringing them back to that all the time, so that the comparisonitis just, and this is the same for mums, it's like that just over time just becomes a smaller and smaller voice, and it's an unnecessary paradigm to jump into.
So how were you working with the women at the beginning, like, to actually realize all of this? Were you counseling or teaching, or what were you doing?
So I actually really am not quite sure what to call myself.
Well, that's okay.
But so what I do is I work, it's a mix of intuition and also my knowledge of emotion education. So really they come in and I can explain to them. So a lot of women are like, I know what I have to do. I just can't do it. I'm not strong enough. I just can't. I keep going out. I want resolution and I know it's going to end badly, but I can't stop myself. So I explain to them why that's happening first so that they understand how their emotions work. And when they get to see the root cause, they can go, oh, and I then say, so you now know that this is actually very fixable. Like you can take charge over your emotional world. And for them, that's very empowering. But also when they work with me, because this is really about bringing women back into their true self, into their hearts and into their true power. And we have been conditioned to move away from our intuition. We've been conditioned to move away from our innate wisdom. And so for me, this is a state of being. So when I work with women, I'm in that state of being, if you like. And so when they're working with me, they feel the state of being that they are. And so a lot of women, even after the first session, in fact, most of them after the first session will say, I can't tell you what you've done really, but I feel different. And I go, yes, so you've had the feeling of who you really are. Now, here are the strategies. Here are the real life practical things you do to implement that so that you can stay in that more often. So it's about understanding and re-feeling who you really are. And then it's about putting into practice the things that you need to do in your daily life that actually help you stay in that state. So it's understanding why you're in the relationships that you are and how you can communicate your real needs in the relationship. It's about not doing things that maybe would set you up, like people pleasing, for example. So we start to identify those things. You know, why is it that you're people pleasing? Let's get to the root cause of that. Even things like anxiety. Like I have clients that come to me with anxiety, and it's never about anxiety. Okay, our medical model fixes anxiety, and they give you all these things to fix anxiety, and of course it never works because it's not about anxiety. When you go back to the root cause, it's where you've actually stepped out of your true self. And so that healing, like when you start to understand what's actually underneath that, you have the power to take yourself out of that. You have the power to take charge of your life, and you know exactly what you need to do. And that is like, this is what women need, right? Because women, we are so capable. You know, all these women that come to me, they're so capable. They may be, you know, women in corporate, women that run their own businesses, you know, women that have big families, that we do all of these amazing things. And yet inside ourselves, we still feel not good enough, or we're second guessing ourselves, or we feel stuck. You know, we feel stuck and like that we're disconnected from ourselves. Like we're doing all these things for everybody else and we can help everybody else, but we're disconnected from ourselves. And that is what I think
I was going to say, so like, and like there's a couple of things I want to unpack there. There's so much you've just said in that sentence or in that section. So explain to me what this state of being is, if you can. This state that we need to be in as such. What is that? What does that mean?
Okay, so we don't need to be in it. It's actually our natural state. Yeah, but what happens is we have all this emotional stuff that we don't know how to address. Not our fault. We've never been taught what to do with our emotional stuff, right? And it gets in the way. It's like a veil. So really, I don't have to, you don't have to create that. It is just there. And grace brings that to you, really. It's like we're planting a tree. So when I help you with your emotions and to understand where they really come from and how to work with them and what to do in real life, like how to actually implement it in your life, that's like, you know, fertilizing and watering your tree and, you know, giving it love. The growing of the tree and the ripening of the fruit happens naturally. So that's something that happens because you're moving aside these things and you're moving them out of the way so that your natural state can start to flourish. So if I were to take you into that place.
Do women have different natural states as such? Would my state be different from yours as such? Sorry, I'm just trying to understand because it's fascinating me. No, because it's fascinating me, and I'm going, am I different from you? I know I'm a woman and you're a woman, but like, would my state be slightly different, or is it that because you said it's about growing who I am and blossoming who I am, and is that similar to you, or is it different, or yeah?
Yes, so that's a really good question. No, it's a very good question. So what I'm
It's
trying
probably
to
me. It's
describe, which
middle
is
of the
always
week.
very tricky with words, is no, look, it's not you at all. And in fact, it's really good because it helps me. This is all my growth as well, right? So we're in a process here talking about this. So this is really good for me too. So if I can share two things around that. First of all, when I come into my natural state, I feel an essence or a power that sits in my chest. Like I can just feel a knowing. It makes me feel very secure and makes me feel very unshakable. And it guides me in a way, like and I can feel it. It is like an energy, and it's quite accepting. It's almost like an unconditional love, I guess, this is how I feel it in my heart. And now I do believe that the essence of all of us, it's almost like each of us has this essence in us, and it all goes back to this unified whole. However, each of us bring in a unique element to that. So the way I express my true self on this planet is unique. The way you express your true self. So when we come back to this place where there's no, if I can say, separation is a good word, right? Because when we're born, we're like born whole. We're perfect. Little babies, you see them, they're just beaming love, right? They're just like, this is me.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with me. I'm just in my joy, right? That is our natural state. And then we start to learn that there's bits of us that aren't good enough, and we need to be better, or we need to do certain things to have certain things. And so we get programmed. So what happens is we walk away from our natural state, not consciously, and almost turn our back on it. And because we've done that, there's a separation between who we are right now and our natural state. The separation is what causes the pain, that causes all the emotional needs. It causes the feeling of a gap. Like when you feel inside of you, like there's always something missing and I've just got to keep going and I'll find it one day. It's like that's what the gap is, because we walked away from our true self. So all of us, I can't say all of us, but like the majority of us have this journey where we have walked away from our true selves. And coming back into our true selves makes us feel whole. It makes us feel this incredible inner power in our bodies. It's almost like when we were born with this beautiful cake, and like all of a sudden we were taught that, no, they were the wrong ingredients. And because we were kids, we didn't know. So, like we were looking around for the ingredients, and we've been looking around for the ingredients, but it's almost like when you come into the place where you realize that you have all the ingredients, you are the cake. You can bake this freaking amazing cake that tastes so good and it smells great and it's just like feels so amazing. That place of wholeness is our true state. Now, the way I express that is unique.
In essence, it's the same, though. Like the essence of it is the same. It's like and as you were describing all of that to me it was like a ball of light that's inside each of us that is calming and controlled, and like maybe controlled is the wrong word for what I want to say here, but it's
accepting and comforting and love. Like, and it is pure love. It's pure love, really. The love that we often feel, and it's not our fault, but the love we often feel is not pure. So like with my children, for example, when they were younger, I love them, but I also, if they did things that really clashed with my values or confronted me, I would withdraw the love, not deliberately, but now I look back, I would just see like, I wish there was something else. Now that's not pure love. Pure love is just like, you are what you are, and if I don't need you to be anything other than what you are. I don't need you to turn up however. If you turn up, if you're an alcoholic and you turn up and you're like that, I completely accept and love you how you are. However, I completely love and accept myself how I am, and I may choose not to be in this situation anymore. Right? There's a big difference to trying to make that other person change. I need them to be something so I feel okay about myself.
Yes. And this is where as a little person growing up in society, is this where like society then starts to say, oh no, you need to conform, you are a boy, therefore you need to conform this way, you are female and there you need to conform this way, children need to be seen but not heard, and potentially that's not the case, but I mean, where as adults, and I do this sometimes, where you say, hey, can you just be quiet a minute, because as an adult you're trying to think or do something or whatever, and the kids are going crazy, and maybe that's not their dynamic to actually be quiet, or to sit still.
But
or
also
whatever.
you have a right to be aware. So I think it's also calling us back to, and this is a big thing for women, right? It's like, I need to love myself enough in this moment to go, what do I need for right now? How can I actually step back into my power in this moment? Look, I have twin boys and they used to fight all the time. Like that, I was so sure they were going to kill each other, really. They were just so full on. And when I started to understand myself and really love myself, I realized that I couldn't change them. I was forever trying to get in the middle of them and change them. And what I did was I started to love myself enough to go, you know what? I cannot change this. And my harmony is a priority to me. My self-love is a priority to me. So if I walked into the room, or if I was in the room and that started happening, I would just get up and walk out. I would walk down the road. Like they were 14 by this stage. I'd walk down and I'd just go for a walk. And I'd come back and they'd just go, where'd you go, Mum? What did you do? Right? I didn't say anything, but I loved myself enough to get myself the heck out of there. And that isn't always possible, but it starts with us. If I'm aware of how it's making me feel, then I can go, okay, why am I feeling this? Why am I feeling like powerless over my daughter? Why is this child making me feel powerless? Because actually there's nothing wrong with their behavior. It's the fact that their behavior has made me feel something that makes me react. So if I can love myself enough to pay attention to what I'm feeling and deal with that, then I'm actually loving my child heaps better as well, because they're not copying my reaction.
So with what you're saying there is, you haven't made me feel this way. I've actually made me feel this way. So
everything is about
so it's
that.
like when you're in a relationship and I don't know, your partner does something and you think, oh, I don't feel very loved at this point or whatever. That's
So say they're unfaithful, right? Or they're checking out other girls, right? They're just checking out other girls. That's what they're doing, right? We could get jealous. And then, of course, that's the normal thing, right? We get jealous. There's this big, long line of, abusive situations that happen where we're like, we don't want this. And they're like, what are you talking about? We didn't do anything. There's gaslighting. There's blah, blah, blah. So it goes on. But if you stop in that moment, in the moment that you have the first feeling and you stop and you go, what am I feeling? Okay, I'm jealous. Why am I feeling jealous? Because it's not actually about jealousy. You go back and you realize, actually, this is about me not feeling good enough. This is about me where I stepped away from my power as a child, probably. And so there's an emotional need in me to feel worthy, to feel loved, and to feel secure. Now, he is deliberately, or not deliberately, undeliberately, unconsciously probably, activating that in me by his behavior. So when I look at that and I go, this is actually not about him. This is my opportunity to see where I have stepped out of my true power. Because if I was in my true power in that moment, right? So because I'm separated, I'm reactive. If I come back into my place of wholeness and I can actually deal with that emotional need, oh, okay, so I've got an emotional need being activated. What do I have to do for me so that I can feel in my body the feeling of worthiness, of love, and of security? And I do that for me. Then I step into my power and then I can go, okay, now I can look at this situation without reactivity. And I'm looking at the situation, I'm going, okay, the man I'm in a relationship is flirting with other women or he's had sex with another woman. Do I want to be loved like that? Do I want to be loved like that? Do I want to stay in a relationship where I'm not valued like that? How much work do I want to do on this? Do I want to go and speak to him and share with him, this is not how I want to be loved? Let's have a talk about this. Or do I just then make different choices for myself? But I can't make those effective choices while I'm in reaction. If I haven't met my emotional needs and I'm thinking that it's his fault that I'm feeling this. I'm thinking that he has to change so that my emotional need disappears, then I've got it all wrong, because it will just repeat
because
over
you're giving
and
that
over
change,
and over again.
You're giving the responsibility of change to an external, which means that the responsibility of change needs to be you. You need to be responsible and take ownership, because
of your emotional need.
Otherwise, if you don't take responsibility and own it, and then put boundaries or change around that, then it will continue to go, because you're blaming other people for the way you're feeling, which you need to take responsibility and you need to own.
That's right. The whole point of anything that happens to us is so that we can step back into our true self. So the event happens for us. And the moment that we see it's happened for us, to give us the insight that there is something that needs healing inside of us, that there's a place we need to step into inside of us. The minute we start to see that and we have that insight, we step out of the loop and we step into this repetitive process, and we actually, you think about it, if you spend all your life waiting for someone to change, somebody has to turn up to do that, right? And you're waiting. It's like, you can do this now. You can be empowered right now. And that is a beautiful thing. That is the most fantastic thing to hear ever, I think. So some women can hear it and go, oh, that's scary. No, this is like the best thing ever, because you think that your life can't change, that your life might be shit, that you have no power. But actually, when you deal with it differently, when you step into this emerging process, you can do something right here and now. And that's incredible, because then you can start enjoying your life journey, right?
Well, exactly. And you have the power, to quote He-Man and all of those 80s cartoons. But so did I.
I used to watch those.
but it's true. Like exactly. Wow. So, okay. How do you help mothers do that within themselves? So, because you need a little bit of emotional maturity to be able to, because you can't be in a situation, and the word desperation comes to my mind, and it's probably not the right word to describe it though, but you've got to be in a situation or in a mind frame that you can actually sit in your emotions and not be in a state of panic, is really, where you go, oh my God, he's had an affair, what am I going to do, blah, blah, blah. Like a state of panic. You've got to be able to step back and sit in it. Am I right? Because that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff happening. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening here, right? So with our partners, often our little girl is being activated. So we need to understand how to actually go in and see that it is the little girl in us, because you think about it, the behavior is childish, right? So that's how you know if it's my little girl or it's me. It's like, oh, that's a childish behavior. So we need to go in and actually comfort our little girl when it comes to partners. But when it comes to children, it's probably slightly different. I mean, it's more that fact of our not good enough is being activated when they do something, or their behavior is not perfect, or they're not good at school, or anything, you name it, anything that's happening with our children, it comes back to me.
Yeah, I haven't been a great mum, or I should have done X, Y, and Z. They shouldn't have been on the iPad for 3 hours yesterday, or all of, like, the whole mummy guilt comes out, doesn't it? And we've all had it.
So we need to go behind that. So you're going to go, you might say I shouldn't have, or you could be actually saying them, you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be blaming that. But it's like stopping in that moment. So the procedures that I teach mums is, first of all, to see everything that happens as an emerging process. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to control it. You are in a process with your child, and both of you are growing, and that is beautiful. You need to be able to see what you're feeling to heal it, and so do they, in a way. So it's just accepting and having faith and trust that you are and you look out the window at the way nature works, right? If you trust that process, it does work, and it leads you to solutions. So right here and now, I might not have solutions, but if I remind myself, This is an opportunity. I'm in an emerging process. I just need to go with the flow. I need to not be reactive, okay, if I can be not reactive right now, and I need to support my child and validate my child's feelings and validate my own feelings and hold that space. And then we just move through it. We just do the next right thing. We just do the next right thing. So it's very much about, and that's, you said to you, how do you stay keeping the mind frame? So I don't want you to stay in your mind. I want you to get out of your mind and into your heart, because that's where the power is and that's where the solutions are. But the mind does have to have the correct frame. So you want to say to your mind, this is an opportunity. We are in an emerging process. Now, as soon as I tell myself that, my mind stops being so reactive. It stops trying to fix the problem.
Well, that was what I was about to ask, actually, was to say, how do you change your state from a reactive state into that more, I'm trying to think what state, more empowering, say, for.
So it is a process, right? And you learn it, but because it's your natural way, you get very, very good at it, and you're just in that state, right? So these are the things. So looking at it as an opportunity, and I'm in the emerging process. And in that pause, if you can do that, it's just really paying attention to your feelings. So you could be saying, I should have done this, or you could be going, oh, okay, this behavior has just activated my not good enough. Okay, so I'm feeling not good enough inside of me, right? I'm not feeling worthy. So now I am aware, like it's almost like I've got one eye inside myself and one eye outside of myself. So I might come in and I might, for me, I might imagine myself hugging my little girl, for example, and just really bringing love and care into my body. Like, because what you want to do is you want to feel it in your body. This is the difference, right? Because you can tell yourself you love yourself and it means diddly squat. You're having a feeling of not being loved. The only thing that will heal that is a feeling of being loved inside your body. Someone can stand there and love you, but if you can't feel it inside your body, if you can't feel it for yourself, you can't actually feel their love, right? So this is all about us feeling it in our body. So for me, if I'm feeling, if something's been activated, I will work on my feelings first. Now, it might not be that quick. You might need to take some space. You might need to go and do some journaling. You might need to talk to someone. But the fact is, you've, one, increased your awareness, and two, you've started on your path of moving into this place of your state of being. Now, the other thing that I do is I will often come into I imagine my awareness dropping into my heart. So I breathe in and out of my heart center. And I just try to step out of the story that's going on in my mind and try to come into my heart center. And that place, and I can imagine that growing, and I can imagine that a feeling of warmth and of security and support building there as I'm standing here, and I can feel myself. That part of me is starting to be activated because I'm bringing my awareness to it. And it's very intuitive. So this is your intuitive self as well. So, and this, it is the challenge, right? Because we are used to having a list of things to do. We're used to staying in our head. We're used to trying to figure it out, work it out, do the research. What I'm saying is that's good. Like, we need that, but not first. First, we need to come into our power. First, we need to connect with our true self. First, we need to come in and have a look at what is it I'm feeling that is making me feel uncomfortable. And we want to heal that and step into this place inside of us where, we're embracing of that inner child pain, and we're loving it, and we're feeling the warmth, and we're feeling that power inside ourselves. Now, you could be saying, yeah, that's all well and good for you, but when my kids are like, rah, 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 and I've got to do something, right? Yeah. And I know that place.
Well, you have four. You have
two
four
things
kids.
You can do.
So, I mean, yeah. Hello. Yeah.
I know that place. Like, when you're in the thick of it, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't. Yeah. No way am I going to do it. Lisa said, and drop into my heart. It's like, the vases will be smashed. There'll be a rock through the window. It's like, no, I'm not going to do that, right? So you just want to be able to bring yourself into a state where you're not reactive and where you make people safe and somehow move it away. Like, that's what you need to be able to do. So you need to remember, you need to be aware of your reactions first and be stopping your reactions. So the first thing is, this is an emerging process. I know this is about my feeling, so I'm going to take a pause, and I'm not going to react. I'm going to do what I have to do. I'm going to allow it to be how it is. I'm going to make it safe, right? But what you do find over time is that because you're so in tune with yourself and you're acting so intuitively, those things just don't happen as much, right? Because you don't set them up.
Yeah.
You don't set them up unconsciously, and you learn how to prevent it. You start to see the patterns that you've been in that create the conflict, and they just don't happen because your awareness is so much wider and so much broader, and you've connected with these kids. Because you're connected to you, you can actually be there for them, and they feel emotionally safe. They don't need to be acting out all the time because they can feel connected to themselves and to you. So it's almost like you change. That's right. And emotional safety is a certain form of security. Like when I'm in my true self, people can be emotionally safe with me because they know that there's no unconscious dynamics acting out. I'm not going to put you down really like a subtle put down. I'm not going to poke fun at you. I'm not going to take your secrets and go and tell somebody else. I'm not going to judge you when you walk away, because I don't need to. Like I'm whole. Like there's nothing I need. There's nothing I get from doing that. I don't need to feel better about myself because I already am feeling pretty amazing about myself, right? So you are completely emotionally safe with me. And that sense of being emotionally safe with someone, of being able to, I can let my guards down. I can just be me, and like for your kids and for your teenage daughters, like, I know that whatever happens, mum is not going to react. I know that I can share anything. I know that I am safe with my mum, that this is a safe haven for me. And even if she doesn't like it, I know she's not going to react. I know that she's not going to withdraw the love. I know that she's going to work with me through it so that we can both.
So even if
connected.
she is considering going on OnlyFans or whatever, like as in the websites and stuff like that, you can at least not do what would be classed as the typical reaction, which is to go, what? And blow up and like go, oh my God. And actually
that is the most important thing, that you get your reactions under control, right? That is the most important. And the one thing that will change everything is if you can not react in that situation. So, and you can't always stop your daughters. Like sometimes they might be doing that, right? You may not be able to stop it, but you're going to have more chance of getting her out of it if you keep the dialogue going, right? Because this is where, and this is like, there's so much to this, because this is, I also teach like sacred sexuality. It's like how not to, how to have self-allegiance, how not to think of your body in a transactional way, because that's what they're taught, right? So bringing that right back, because the more they get in contact with who they really are and they learn that they are their own best friend, and that to have allegiance to yourself before every other person, but it's an emotional thing. If you go on OnlyFans, it's an emotional thing because you don't feel good enough and you want people to validate you and you want people to look at you. And if they're paying you for it, then you know that you're worthy. That's emotional. Everything is emotional.
And are you really worthy in their eyes as such as well? I suppose that's the education that these adolescents need to a certain extent as well. And like someone myself, worldly wise, like when you're older, you understand all of this aspect. But when you're like, you're involved with like 8 to 16-year-olds, and I sometimes wonder if 8 is not young enough nowadays, because
No, I think you're right. I think it's the sooner you start, and you are saying to your children all the time, like love yourself, love yourself. Stand in front of the mirror every day. I love you. I love you. I love you. And even though when you're a child and you're programmed like that, that is great. Like it might sound corny, but it's like you're saying to them all the time, the most important thing in this world is that you love yourself. You love yourself. You love yourself, and you're saying that to them all the time. Like it's just, that is a great program to be inputting.
And it's just it's frightening because, and I'm sure he didn't mean anything by it, but my son's 6. And even as a boy, he came back the other day and he went, oh, I'm a bit podgy, Mum. And I'm like, well, and I'm very conscious that we don't, he eats what he wants to eat. He burns it off anyway. And like, I'm very, very conscious that we don't really go into like fat and all of this stuff. I mean, mummy, yeah, it's, mummy's trying to get fit and things like that. So I'm trying to put it, get healthy, and so, but it's not a fat, thin sort of thing. It's about being healthy and making sure that I've got a healthy heart, and I go out and, we're not sitting around and being unhealthy and things like that. So it's all around health, and I'm probably even in labeling it healthy, labeling it, which is maybe not the right thing to do, but it's I just
let's take it into emotional
very conscious about fat, thin, and all of this stuff, because but it's when they go to school, it's like you almost don't have like any control on them. So
yeah, that's true. There's a lot of influences, but I want to encourage mums to even go further than that, because we're doing all these great things because we've been taught to do it, which is fantastic. But we need to go into the emotional consciousness. He doesn't really care about being podgy. It's making him feel not good enough.
Yeah.
Right. So it's the not good enough that's activating him. So it's like if you can bring his awareness to that, if you can say to him, really, this doesn't have anything to do with your body, honey. This is maybe somebody has made you feel not good enough. Would that be true? Is that how you feel? Is that how it's making you feel? And then you're validating, and, just to validate that, for him to hear that and go, yeah, actually, that's how I feel. All of a sudden, he has insight into the way he's working. Now, that is priceless.
Yeah, no,
that
very
is
much
priceless.
so, very much so. So is this how you work with the mothers and daughters side of things, to actually get mothers to actually, if their daughters make comments like my son did, and I mean, it's my son, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's mother and daughter. It can be mother and son, because although their issues are sometimes different, they're sometimes the same. And it seems as though the sexes are morphing into one when it comes to things like that anyway. I suppose boys tend to focus a little bit more on, I wasn't quite as strong, or, things like the strength side of things or the sporty side of things.
And there are also some, like boys you've got to sort of talk to sideways, right? I remember that I'd take my boys out and make them hang the clothes on the line with me. So I was talking to them sideways, whereas my girls would always be in my face going, So there are certain things, but what I've been doing is working with mums. I will move into working with teenagers soon. I'd love to go into schools and talk to girls. But for now, I've just started with the mums, and we offer like classes. I work with mums individually. We have group coaching. And we're actually doing this. This is great. If there's any of your listeners that are keen, we're doing a feminine first aid. Okay. I'm working with a lady in Ireland. And we do it at Irish time, it's 8 o'clock. So in Sydney, it's like 7 a.m. in the morning on Tuesday. But we can record it if mums are keen to come on. And you can also watch the replay at any time. This is on all my social media and on my YouTube channel. But what we've done is we've just started it, and we've invited mums on, and they come on with their video turned off and a pseudonym. It's like a different name. And they actually tell us their problems. So we had Sybil on the other day, and she was talking about how her daughter doesn't want to come home. She always wants to stay at her girlfriend's place. And so Carolyn and I are working through how Sybil can actually respond to that, how the opportunity is with her, what she can do inside herself to feel better about it and more empowered, and the actions that she can take given where her daughter's at. And that was just it was just so interesting to hear the whole process worked through, and gave Sybil a lot of insights into what's really going on underneath, because it's that level that we need to start looking at now. It's more of and they may call it unconscious. I don't think it's unconscious. It's just that we haven't become conscious. Yes,
I agree. And at the end of the day, I don't care what, as parents, we all love our kids, and we love our kids so much.
That's right.
And we're so desperate to try and try our best. And I suppose that's one of the reasons the podcast is called as it is, because with it being strong, single, and human, because at the end of the day, we are all human. We're not perfect. We're striving to be the best person that we possibly can be every day. But when your kids do something like not come home or tell you they hate you, and believe you me, during lockdown, I was told I was hated a lot because somebody didn't want to do schoolwork or whatever. But it can't not affect you. I mean, it's something that all kids do. I hate you, blah blah blah, because I can't be on my iPad or whatever. But it does. It affects you and it hurts you, and then you get
But you come into you do. The more you know yourself emotionally, the more you can see that pattern of. You can almost see it like this projection of how they're feeling about themselves onto you. So you stop taking it so personally. And it's like, I can just hold a loving space for this child because I can actually see it's all about them, even though it's projecting out as I hate you. This is just their projection. And really it's all about them. What do they need right now? But I need to be able to understand myself emotionally well enough and be able to step back into my power so that I'm not reactive, because otherwise their words are going to activate me. I'm going to feel like I'm not loved, and like the little girl in me would totally react to that, So it's like the more mothers can get themselves in that state, the more they can hold a loving space for their child. So his frustrations and his, words are really just telling you exactly how he's feeling about himself. And we, for mums to be able to be in a space where we can hear that and actually help them to meet their own needs without any reaction is where we're moving to as mothers. We haven't been taught this. We don't know. I don't feel bad about this because, I want to say to mums, this is like, we have not been taught this. In fact, our whole heart has been suppressed by the way our society runs. So this whole way of being is only just now ready to be awakened.
And look, they don't come with an off button, and they don't come with an instruction manual.
Nope.
They don't come with...
And they make sure everything that you need to heal, right, everything that you're going to need to heal, and that is going to cause a reaction is exactly what they do. It's almost like they know. So if you just think to yourself, okay, every time something happens, like, oh, okay, they've pressed something in there, I need to heal that. It's like they're going to go for it every time, So,
it's like button pushing all the time. And you are right. It is very much about changing that reaction, that reactive state, and stepping back and
and speaking it. Like you can speak it. You can say, I say to my daughter, wow, when you shared that with me, that actually I can feel myself, this overwhelming feeling of powerlessness come up in my body, and so I'm speaking it to her and I'm like, wow, that made me feel so powerless. And I'm allowing that to be, because I'm reminding myself I'm in a process. This is just the process. She shared something. The process for me is that it's created powerlessness, which is, there's a part of me that feels like not good enough and I feel like I have to fix this, and I'm aware of that. And then she gets to say, like my daughter said to me, I can understand why you would feel that, Mum, that I'd probably feel the same in your situation. And so then I can be comforting myself, soothing myself. And because I've shared it, I've taken the pressure off. And then it can dissolve and it passes, and then we move into the next moment. And in the next moment, I'm like, okay, I really don't know how to deal with this. This is something that I just don't know how to deal with, and she'll share her stuff. And then it's like, okay, I need to take some time now because I need to sit with this and I need to call some friends and I need to actually come into myself and allow a solution to drop in, so we don't speak it often. We sort of also think, we don't want to blame them, but we want to be able to say that made me feel, or that landed on me as a feeling, are some of the words that I use, so we're just sharing our emotional response. And that also alleviates it because we've acknowledged that we have a feeling and validated. I mean, how many times do we just not even acknowledge that we have a feeling?
I know. I completely agree with you. And in validating and saying that you've got a feeling, or that this, you're not sure what to do with that situation, you're also showing your human side and not the fact that you've got all the answers and you're in control and this is all good, because actually, 9 times out of 10 we're not. And like we've said previously, there is no manual for this, right? We're just writing this through, and we're also dealing with
that's right,
parenting blueprint and things like that. So how we've been parented and how they've been parented, and how society has influenced our parents and their parents, and so on and so forth. And all the things that have happened in the world. I mean, I think I've said this on several podcasts previous, but like my grandparents went through the Second World War, so that, and how that influenced how they had to deal with life and the stresses and traumas and everything would have influenced how they looked after my mum and my aunt, and then influenced how my mum has looked after me and my brother, and influences to a certain extent. And thank God we're in the age that we're in the fact that, you know, my brother and myself, and same shame, my mum who listens to this, so she's probably got a lot from this and took a lot of notes. We're learning and educating ourselves and trying to adapt and break bad cycles and create good cycles with our children, so we can, you know, make them better people, just as we're becoming better people ourselves.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And you're super modeling, right? So you're super modeling. If you're working through your process in the moment with them, you're super modeling to them what to do with their emotions. Otherwise, they just learn that they have to be perfect like their parents are. They just learn that they have to suppress everything. So the more you can model your process, your emotional process to them at their level, the more they get to see, oh, there's mum doing that's what she does when she feels powerless. Oh, that's what she does when she feels reactive. You know what I mean? And so they're learning all the time because, you know, kids watch what we do. They learn more from what we do than what we say.
No,
right?
Exactly. So we've talked a lot about the mothers and everything around all of this, but do the daughters have anything? Are we just educating them, or is there something that we need to be? Do the daughters have to bring something to their?
Yeah.
And the reason I'm saying that is because I'm thinking that, you know, where you've got a kid that, and in a way the responsibility, and I'm answering my own question here, the responsibility does lie with us. But if you've got a kid who's going, that's it, I'm doing my own thing, and I'm like, you know, I'll do what I want to do, and, you know, won't listen or whatever, then is it the onus on us to?
Yeah. So I want to say that the best thing to do is to always be thinking about the relationship. So if you have a really strong connection, which means you can make them feel emotionally safe and accepted no matter what, like even if their bedroom's messy, even if they're not showering, whatever it is, we still like that feeling of they are emotionally safe in that. So the more connected you are, the more you trust and respect each other, the more influence you're going to have on your child. So if you're always thinking that from the very young age, the connection is more important than the event. The connection that I have with this human being, me trying to understand why they're feeling, why are they doing that? Me wanting to understand and stand in their shoes, that creates that connection. And the stronger that is all through their life, when you get to the stage where they are starting to do things that you may feel very difficult to accept, then you've already got the relationship there. So for me, it's like, you know, it's messy bedroom, for example. Like I know some parents would be like, pick up your room, whatever it is, or shut the door and forget about it, whatever it is. I know if I have a feeling about it, if it's agitating me, I have to do something. So if it's agitating me, then there's probably a not good enough that I need to look at, right? So I need to do my emotional work so that I can come back into it and get myself into an empowered state, right? Fix up my reaction to their behavior first. And then I come back in here and then I go, okay, but it is time that the bedroom got cleaned. But I'm walking in not from my disempowered state. I'm not walking in from feeling agitated, because if I walk in an agitated state, I'm going to be blaming and persecutory. I don't want to be those things because that damages our relationship. So I'm walking in from my empowered state and I'm saying, I have a feeling about how the bedroom is looking right now. I need you to clean it up. I'm going to, I can see what you've got on in this day. You've got a space between 6 and 7, for example. I want you to spend that time cleaning up your bedroom. I'll come in and see if there's anything that you need from me, and then I'll come back and, you know, like, so I'll say things like that. Like I'm talking about things and my daughter might go, no, I don't want to do it then. And I'll say, okay, when do you want to do it? I need it done by this time. When suits you? And she'll say, oh, I suppose I could do it now. You know, so it's like that. And there's no conflict. Yeah. There doesn't need to be conflict because I'm not walking in an agitated state. I'm communicating consciously with her and I'm giving her the freedom to choose as well. Like I'm not saying you have to do it now. If she said to me, I can't do it today, I'd say, okay, well, it does need to be done. So what time tomorrow will it be getting done? Like I'm calling her to it. You know, and or things like, you know, we're going here. It needs to be done by the time we're going here. Otherwise, I'm just as happy to stay home and do some work. You know, like, so there's no conflict. There doesn't have to be conflict. but you've got to set
Yes.
yourself up
Yeah.
first.
No. Awesome. Awesome. That's such good advice. That's such good advice. Okay. So look, thank you for everything that you've walked us through, because it's definitely helped me, and I have a son. So, you know, I mean, I do have two stepdaughters, mind you. So hopefully it's helped their mum a little bit. But look, if people wanted to reach out, get to know more about what you're doing, more about these mum sessions you're doing with this other lady, what were the sessions called?
So these are for the Diamond Mothers.
Oh,
We're in the Diamond Mother Ring.
Okay.
So we're creating a community. We're going to be giving some live trainings once a month on the third of every month in the Northern Hemisphere, and then it ends up being the fourth of our month. They do get recorded if you sign up and register for them. So 12 of them, we're going to be doing 12, and they're going to be specifically related to issues that we're facing with our children. So, for example, the first one is on stillness and listening, and that directly helps with secrecy, depression, isolation. So if you're experiencing those things with your daughter, then come along. So this is the whole aim is to make them very practical and give you tools to know how to deal with that. So we're going to be doing that once a month. We'll probably have other things in between that. We also have on a Monday night or Tuesday morning in Australia the Feminine First Aid. If you're a mum and you'd like to come and have your stuff worked through online anonymously, please contact me. You can get my website details from, I think you put that up here,
that's
Claire,
right.
somewhere. Yep. Or email me at lisa@iamlisajayne.com. That's IAM Lisa JAYNE.com. So you can email me directly and come on a Monday night, because we're looking for more mums to do that. It's just such a great way to demonstrate how it works.
Yeah, and it's anonymous as well, isn't it? It's anonymous. You don't you don't have to go out there and say, it's Sarah from Melbourne and her daughter's doing all of this. It can be completely anonymous, and
No, and you don't want to be. You want it to be anonymous, right? They don't want to know that you're talking about their stuff, and that's loyalty to your daughter is really important. But it can be very, very helpful. So we do that, and love to invite mums onto that. We also do the Feminine Force Field, which is talking about how to awaken the feminine force, and talking to other mothers that. Like we had a supermodel on the other week, and how she uses the feminine force in her life and with her son. And we've just had some great people, and another mother that did, she teaches law of attraction, but how she mothers from her feminine force. And this just fantastic conversations. Keep an eye on us and keep an eye out for us and on us. Yeah. Follow us on social media and YouTube, because we're doing things every week, and and it's great. Just come on in and get the vibe. We want to share it as widely as we can. I also do work one-on-ones with mums, but you'll see that there as well. So, it really, we just want to build the awareness around this, because the more people that are talking about it and the more people that are telling their friends that there's a different way to mother, the better, because there's so many mums now just feeling so powerless, and it doesn't
exactly.
Have to be that
way. And any way that we can put tools into mums' toolboxes, so that they can anything that can help them with bringing their children up is what I'm here for. That's basically why I run the podcast and do what I do, because there are times where I do sit there and go, oh my God, how do I deal with this? Yeah.
It's so good, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's so good you do that.
Well, that might be also surreptitiously one of the reasons I do this as well. So I'm actually learning all of these tools to deal with my child. But thank you. Thank you for all of that. It sounds like you're going to be really, really busy in the next year with everything that you're doing. And I've joined all the websites and everything just to try and keep up to date with what you're doing. So it's brilliant. So look, I have one more question to ask, and that is, and I ask it to everyone, if you had a superpower, what superpower would it be?
Definitely it's my heart, the love that I feel from my heart that I share with people.
That's cool. No, I mean, I can't think of a better superpower. It's great. I think there should be more love in this world, especially with everything that's going on. I mean, dear me. Brilliant. Excellent. Thank you for that. Well, look, Thank you, Lisa. Thanks for coming and talking to us. It's been a real pleasure. Thanks so much. And
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having
no,
me. I've
it's
enjoyed the
great. I like
conversation. It's been
delving in
great.
deeper and,
Yeah.
trying to get to find out a bit more information about what you're doing and stuff. So it's great. Look, thank you ever so much. I'm going to say have a great afternoon and speak to you later.
Thank you, Claire. Have a beautiful afternoon too. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Bye.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast and would like to hear more, please hit subscribe wherever you like to hear podcasts. If you'd like to support us further, share this episode with your friends and family on all the usual social media platforms that you're normally on. And finally, drop us a review on iTunes, as I'd love to hear your thoughts, comments, and ideas. It all helps me to understand and produce awesome content that I know you're going to want to hear, like this. If you want to check out past episodes, write to us, appear on the podcast, or for links, resources, and show notes, go to our website, www.strongsingleandhuman.com. We are also on all the usual social media platforms, Insta, Facey, and Twitter. Have a wonderful week, and I hope to see you back here again soon. Be kind to yourself, and remember, no one's perfect, and we're all just putting one foot in front of the other and doing our best. I'm Claire Martin, and you've been listening to the Strong, Single, and Human podcast.